work harder, Mike. Let's. All right, let's start with this. This is pretty good. Well, pretty bad for the country, but kind of this is the only time I saw this even happening. So 46, I believe 46 members of the House are supporting this bill. The bill's called the New Way Forward Act. And I figure we should all know what's happening, right?
Well, no. Sounds great.
You really
gonna...
No,
but it's forward. Forward's good. We're a new way forward.
You're gonna really...
We're moving forward.
You're gonna really want to know what's in
this. This is going to be the greatest bill I've ever co-signed since the No Child Left Behind Act. The Patriot Act. You know what I mean?
Really gonna want to know what's in this one.
Wait a minute.
Pretty sure it's important.
Before I jump, are you trying to insinuate that this might be one of those deceptively named bills?
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Well, let's find out.
It has not received nearly enough attention. In cities across the country, prosecutors and lawmakers are working frantically to make life worse for normal people and easier for thugs and armed robbers. We've told you about New York's new bail law, the one that lets criminals back onto the streets immediately after being caught. Not surprisingly, crime has surged. This has shocked nobody except maybe Chris Cuomo's brother, who runs the state and who's responsible for it. Now there's this sad story. In 2018, New York resident Wilmer Rodriguez was brutally assaulted by two members of MS-13 after he tried to protect two boys they were threatening. Rodriguez agreed to testify against his attackers in court, as good citizens do. That decision cost him his life. On Sunday, Rodriguez was beaten to death outside his home. Until recently, Rodriguez would have been protected by New York law, which allowed prosecutors to conceal the names of witnesses until shortly before trial for their safety. But a new law, this one passed to help criminal defendants, required prosecutors to turn over Rodriguez's name to the gang members' lawyers. Almost immediately, gang members started harassing Rodriguez. This week, they killed him. That's what New York is like now. Do the right thing, and you could be murdered by predators the government is determined to protect. Lunacy? Yes, it is lunacy, but it's not confined to New York. In 2018, Nancy Pelosi attacked the president for daring to call MS-13 members animals.
Oh, I remember this. We covered this.
According to Pelosi, Trump was more immoral than the gang members he insulted.
We're all God's children. There's a spark of divinity in every person on earth. And so when the President of the United States says about undocumented immigrants, these aren't people, these are animals.
Wait, is she reading Anthony Cumia's tweets?
You have to wonder, does he not believe in the spark of divinity?
All right,
look,
hey,
listen,
pause.
Charlton Heston.
Yeah, seriously. Hey, denture mouth. I don't like that sleight of hand shit they do.
Of course not.
Are we not all children of God? That's not the point, lady. But some people do crimes. Some people do violent crimes. And what we like to do is sometimes we like to separate some of the divine children of God from some of the other divine children of God.
Yeah, so they don't kill certain divine children of God.
Exactly, you fucking dumb bitch.
So this is...
Are so inhumane.
He's a sinner. MS-13 are God's children. Well, Vox did an entire video about how really MS...
What you have to understand is...
Not that Vox.
Oh, sorry. You're right, because Tucker's playing it.
13 were just misunderstood high school students, decent, hardworking kids, maligned by racist media.
When you think of the street gang MS-13...
Okay, I'm sorry. First off, this is Vox. Listen to the whimsical music.
The whimsical music and the voice doesn't fit.
It
sounds like a commercial for a small tech firm, right?
Or you know when they have Small Business Week.
We here at MS-13 are trying to create new paradigms to create synergy between international markets.
Kids in the playground.
Blind by a racist media.
When you think of the street gang MS-13, what do you see? Maybe something like this. Or this.
Yeah.
But what if I told you the typical MS-13 gang member in the U.S. actually looks like one of these young men on Facebook?
The MS-13
Oh, okay. Well, then let's let them all go.
Guys, MS-13 has Facebook accounts.
Case
so
closed.
that's it.
Guys,
okay?
They're just like you and me.
They're normal people.
They're just like you and me. Like, you know how... they say they're all like this guy, but some of them, some of them rape and murder and kill people and rob people, but they don't have face tattoos.
Yeah.
They're just like me.
the US actually looks like one of these young men on Facebook.
The MS-13 members that I've been...
Somebody in the chat goes, Jason T, fuck those guys too. Yeah, fuck them too.
Yeah,
I don't
fuck
care.
them.
Following.
Hey, Mike, are you surprised that a white woman is virtue signaling for them and protecting them?
I'm actually like, it really sucks because I know people are going to give me shit about this because there's whatever. But the street gangs in their inception really weren't the worst things in the world.
No, you're right. That is true.
They were just like neighborhood cliques that would maybe once in a while fight with another neighborhood clique, but like they actually like kept the neighborhood a little bit under control, whatever. And then like the fucking crack epidemic and all this other shit and like I don't know what the fuck happened, but it used to be like just crews and sets like, hey, what's up, man? 22nd Street P-Ruse and shit. And then it just became like international fucking death gangs.
Are working after school jobs. They're living with their parents.
You know, all these MS-13 experts
Are white?
They're all white women.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's just like they really...
Long Island on bicycles.
There's no indication that we're seeing a bigger surge of MS-13 than we'd seen in the past.
Fox wants you to calm down. It was just a false alarm. Everything's cool. Go back to bed. Those scary MS-13 gang members, just a nightmare. Except they weren't. They're real. MS-13 is an actual organization. It's a massive transnational criminal organization that's left behind a trail of bodies in a number of countries over decades. 3 years ago, we traveled to El Salvador to see where it all started. Yeah. We visited a detention center in San Salvador where suspected MS-13 members are being held before trial.
Look at those kids. They all have Facebook pages, Mike.
More than 50 men packed in a single cell, their backs to us to avoid being identified. Some seemed barely out of childhood, though in many cases they were covered in gang tattoos, a sign of their total commitment. Before long, some of these guys may wind up in LA or Long Island. It's happening now. What was your role in the gang?
I was a soldier, a foot soldier.
What does that mean?
I work for like the shredder. The shredder would like tell me what to do, yo. So like I started a karate fighting gang, and like these Ninja Turtles, like they came and they fuck with my homies, dog.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's not often like, you know, that you roll with one gang and then leave and join another gang.
Yeah.
It's like I was originally in the Foot Clan.
Oh.
And then, you know, MS-13, you know, recruited me from the Foot Clan. I'm going, thank you.
Thanks, bro.
If they increase to a certain point, societies don't function at all. And we should be worried about that always. We ought to be doing all that we can to build a place.
I love that it's L.A. and Long Island specifically.
Yeah,
it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, why my home? Of all places in New York, it wasn't the Bronx or New York's at Long Island. We're putting them all in Long Island. Like, why?
Country where people who follow the law are rewarded, those who flout it are punished, and above all, children can live in peace and safety. That used to be obvious. It's not obvious anymore. At this moment, there's a bill.
This is fucking bananas. This is happening now.
Pending in the Congress called the New Way Forward Act. It's received almost no publicity, and that's unfortunate, as well as revealing. The legislation is sponsored by 44 House Democrats, including Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It's roughly 4,400 words long. That means it's almost exactly as long as the U.S. Constitution. Like the Constitution, it's designed to create a whole new country. The bill would entirely remake our immigration system with the explicit purpose of ensuring that criminals are able to move to the United States and settle here permanently with immunity. Now, you may think we're exaggerating for effect, but we're not exaggerating, not even a little bit. The New Way Forward Act is the single most radical piece of legislation we have ever seen proposed in this country, ever. It makes the Green New Deal look like the status quo. The document produced by Democrats to promote the bill says this, and we're quoting it verbatim. Convictions should not lead to deportation, end quote. Now keep in mind, we're not talking about convictions for double parking or even for DUI. The bill targets felony convictions, serious crimes that could send you to prison for years, and should. A press release from Congressman Jesus Garcia of Illinois is explicit about this.
Yeah, and that's, I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but like that's my big problem with this, like a lot of these bail reform things is I am in complete agreement that there needs to be some bail reform. I am in complete agreement that there is a large list of crimes that you pretty much should be immediately released for. If anything, get issued a desk ticket. It's a massive waste of resources to arrest every person that's got a joint on them or fucking you know what I mean? Like there's
bar fights.
Bar fight. Well, yeah, but even that, like, there's a lot of like, I've seen a lot of bar fights, and it's very rare somebody even gets arrested for that. They usually do the whole, like, if I press charges on you, he's gonna. If I press charges on him, he's gonna press charges on you, and then they're like, no,
we'll just go home.
But like, you know, people are like shoplifting, like petty theft. You know, these fucking like. There's certain things where you got to go. All right, look, you need to be in court, whatever. And then, of course, obviously, if you keep doing the same petty crime, they would have to go, all right, look, we got to hold you in jail. You don't know how to behave like a human being. But like he said, it's now like, no, violent crimes, drive-by shootings, rapes,
worse. Yeah.
assaults, murders. And you're like, whoa, wait, what? Just letting everybody go. All right, got it.
They won't. Right now, if you commit a felony, you're immediately deported. This would change that.
Yeah, and then also they also do the what is it? I saw in New York one of the bail reform things covers money laundering. Fuck you, you have the money. You're laundering money.
Right, exactly.
You can afford bond.
So the bill will break the, quote, prison to deportation pipeline, something most of us were for. So how does the bill do that? Well, under current U.S. law, legal U.S. immigrants can be deported if they commit a, quote, aggravated felony or a crime of moral turpitude. That is a vile, depraved act like molesting children. Under the New Way Forward Act, crimes of moral turpitude are eliminated entirely as justification for deportation. And the category of aggravated felony gets eliminated too. So what does that mean? Consider this. Under current law, immigrants who commit serious crimes, robbery to fraud to child sexual abuse, must be deported regardless of the sentences they receive.
Now, that should be something we all agree with, right? Like, if you do those things, you should be deported. Child sex crimes, rape, like, you should be gone.
Immediately.
Other crimes, less severe ones like racketeering, require deportation if the perpetrator receives at least a 1-year sentence. Under this bill, there would no longer be any crime that automatically requires deportation. None. And one crime, falsifying a passport, would be made immune from deportation no matter what, because apparently 9/11 never even happened, and we no longer care about fake government documents. By the way, if you just renewed your driver's license to comply with the Real ID Act, you must feel like an idiot, because immigrants are getting a pass, you're not. Under the proposed legislation, for crimes that would still allow deportation, the required prison sentence would rise from 1 year to 5 years. We checked the Bureau of Justice statistics. According to federal data, crimes like car theft, fraud, and weapons offenses all carry average prison sentences of fewer than 5 years. And that's just looking at averages. There are people who commit rape, child abuse, even manslaughter, and get sentences with fewer than 5 years. Lots of them, actually. If the New Way Forward Act passes, immigrants who commit those crimes and receive those sentences would remain in this country, and of course, they will be eligible for citizenship day one, too, of course. But even that is understating the law's effect. Even a 5-year prison sentence wouldn't necessarily be enough to trigger deportation. The bill would grant sweeping new powers to immigration judges, allowing them to nullify a deportation order.
Immigration judges could nullify a deportation order.
Question.
Making ICE worthless, by the way.
Question.
Yes.
Where would these immigration judges be based out of? What areas do you think?
Long Island and LA.
You fucking asshole.
The only requirement for that is, quote, the immigration judge finds such an exercise of discretion appropriate in pursuant of humanitarian purposes, to assure family unity, or when it is otherwise in the public interest. Talk about open-ended. In other words, anti-American immigration judges, and there are a lot of those in this country, would have a blank check to open the borders. You would not be voting on this. It would happen anyway. Is this shocking you yet? Because we're just getting started. We read this.
That's just a picture of Tucker's desk in the back.
Hey,
who put that up? Put that down.
Hey.
Proposed legislation. Here's another point. Current U.S. law makes drug addiction grounds for deportation because why wouldn't it? This bill would eliminate that statute. Current law also states that those who have committed drug crimes abroad or, quote, any crimes involving moral turpitude are ineligible to immigrate here. The New Way Forward Act abolishes that statute. So a Mexican drug cartel leader could be released from prison, then freely come to America immediately. And if he wants, he could come here illegally, and it still wouldn't be a crime because, and you were waiting for this part, the bill also decriminalizes illegal entry into America. even by those we've previously deported. In other words, you break our law, we send you out, you come back, you break it again, you can stay. According to a document promoting this bill, criminalizing illegal entry into America is, quote, white supremacist.
Here we go.
And there it is, folks.
It's not going to work.
And there it is.
I doubt this is going to. There's no way this makes it past the Senate. Thank God.
That's a quote, white supremacist. Now, by this point, you're beginning to wonder, are we making this up? We're not making it up. In fact, we're barely halfway through the bill. The legislation doesn't just make it harder to deport illegal immigrants who commit crimes. It doesn't just make it easier for criminals to move here illegally, though it does both. The bill would also effectively abolish all existing enforcement against illegal immigration. To detain illegal immigrants, ICE would have to prove in court that they are dangerous or a flight risk. But of course, ICE wouldn't be allowed to use a detainee's prior criminal behavior as proof of danger.
Did you hear that? I know that's so, look how crazy that is. They have to prove that they're a flight risk, but they're not allowed to use their previous criminal past to prove that they're a flight risk.
There's just no way this no fucking way. This is a goddamn joke.
That's banned. ICE would have to overcome even more hurdles if the detainee claims to be gay or transgendered. If they're under 21 or if they can't speak English and an interpreter isn't immediately available, they get a pass.
Yep.
Arrest an illegal alien in this country than it is to arrest you. They're the protected class here. You're just some loser who's paying for it all. But believe it or not, we saved the nuttiest part of this legislation for last, and here's what it is. What could be more destructive than changing U.S. law specifically to allow rapists, child molesters, and drug dealers to stay in America? How about this? Using taxpayer money to bring deported criminals back into America. That's right. This bill would not only abolish your right to control who lives in your country, but it invents a brand new right. Quote, the right to come home. It orders the government to create a, quote, pathway for those previously deported to apply to return to their homes and families in the United States, as long as they would have been eligible to stay under the new law. It's retroactive, in other words. DHS must spend taxpayer dollars transporting convicted criminal illegal aliens back into the United States. Not making this up. So who would be eligible for these flights? Tens of thousands of people we kicked out of this country for all kinds of crimes. Sexual abuse, robbery, assault, drug trafficking, weapons trafficking, human trafficking. From 2002 to 2018, 480,000 people were deported for illegal entry or re-entry into America. And under this bill, you'd have to buy each of them a plane ticket to come home. Those tickets alone would...
Hey, but they want you to know. It's coach. We're not going to pay for business class.
How do you...
No drinks either on that flight.
They can't be this stupid, right?
When I first saw this, Mike, I agree. That's the first thing I'm thinking. They can't be this dumb. Look, do I think this bill itself is going to pass? No. But every time a goofy bill like this is passed, it's always started with something like this, right? So 44 members of the House, which, of course, is not the majority of the House, whatever. But give it 5 years. You don't think in 5 years there'll be enough? 6 years, 7, 8 years? Eventually, this is where we're heading. Everything that we've on this show, that we've been watching, everything that we've been seeing has been building towards this, you know? We said it before, right? When it came to illegal immigration, the left used to at least have the decency to hide their hand, you know? There's videos of Obama saying you can't come in this country illegally. We're not going to allow, you know? He didn't mean that, but you at least... You
plan to see it's the Overton window. You're pushing the Overton window until you get what you want.
Right.
But the people behind this can't think this is good, right? Like they can't be that dumb. They have to realize that this is evil.
Remember, the end game of this has been the end game when it comes to illegal immigration. Let me tell you something right now, guys. Democrats don't give a fuck about illegal immigrants. They know that illegal immigrants are going to vote Democrat, and it's just a humongous voter base. If we do, probably the biggest mistake that Reagan ever made was the Amnesty Act that he did. It completely reshaped California, right? Just the old pudding-brain Reagan there at the end, like, yeah, you're all American citizens now.
Well, Reagan really, that fucking bullet really changed his fucking tune a lot.
I think you're right, yeah.
Cost about $1 billion. And that's before Democrats make you start paying for these criminals free health care, too, which they plan to do. and have said so. The New Way Forward Act fundamentally inverts every assumption you have about this country. Under this legislation, the criminals are now the victims. Law enforcement is illegitimate. It's racist, just like the country you live in, just like you are. And the only solution is to get rid of both. America would be better off as a borderless rest stop for the world's predators and parasites. That's the point of this. And we're not overstating. Go read it. This is a big deal. This is not a small thing. This is not renaming a post office. It's hard to believe any American would put these ideas on paper, much less try to pass them into law. And yet, remarkably, that's happening. And even more remarkably, the press has ignored it. This isn't happening in secret. It's happening in the House of Representatives. Scores of Democrats have backed this bill. But the legislation has not been mentioned in the New York Times. It hasn't been mentioned on CNN, a news channel.
You know it's bad, too. Like, you know the bill is bad when the New York Times and CNN and MSNBC aren't even talking about it.
Yeah, like the Patriot Act.
Yep.
Or even in self-described conservative outlets like National Review. No mention. Consider if this were working the other way. If a lone, Republican state legislator from Minot, North Dakota had proposed a bill this extreme that would remake America completely, the president himself would be expected to answer for it. CNN would demand that he disavow it, even if he'd never heard of it before. But when 1/5 of the entire Democratic caucus backs a bill demanding that you import illegal alien felons and then pay for it, it's a non-event in the American media. They don't think you should know about it. And that's dangerous, if we're being honest. Whether the press cares or not, these are the stakes of the 2020 election, and you have a right to know what they are. A growing wing of the Democratic Party views America itself as essentially illegitimate, a rogue state in which everything must be destroyed and remade. Our laws, our institutions, our customs, our freedoms, our history, our values. And of course, that's the point of all of this. An entirely new country in which resistance is crushed and they're in charge forever.
I know. There's a lot of reaction to this. People going, it's not that big of a deal. It's only 44 people. Look, do I know that this isn't going to fucking get past even the House? Yeah, probably not right now. But if you follow politics even remotely, like you don't have to be a big politic guy. These are how these things start. They always start with something like this, right? And then a couple years go by, couple more years go by, some more people die out in the House. We get some different people. Then before you know it, it's like, well, you know what? 70 people. 80 people, 100 people.
Yeah, that and it pushes the Overton window. And the other thing that they do, and this is sleight of hand, they do it all the time, is they'll propose a really, really crazy draconian bill, and it'll get rejected. But then they'll introduce a diet version of it, and they'll pass that and go, hey. At least we didn't pass that really bad one. And you're
it's
like, this
bipartisan.
is still bad.
It's bipartisan.
Yeah.
We compromised.
You're like, no, this is still bad.
Yeah.
We should have never passed any of this.
So that's what's going on right now. Just so you guys know, that's a bill. And, of course, AOC and the Squad and all these fucking assholes are all for it. This is where this is fucking going, folks. This is where this is fucking going. Pay attention to this shit. These little things like these things they're not a big deal. Like the coronavirus, it's not a big. It's just a flu. It's just a flu. Russia's closed their border with China.
Which you should just do anyway if you have a border with China.
I agree. But Russia's closed their border with China.
By the
way,
everybody's hating. Everybody likes to hate on old fucking Kim. But Kim shut that border down the day it was announced.
Of course.
Yeah, like North Korea was like nobody's allowed in
at all.
Yeah, but wait, I have stuff. Don't care. Wait till the virus is gone.
That's where you live.
Sorry, nobody's coming in. Nobody's going out. That's it.